Hi, my name is Paul Arnold and I'm a qualified psychotherapist and also a trained coach. And today's session I'm going to be talking about navigating health issues. And really, it's a topic that can go so many different places. And, I can only really touch the surface of this. And I'm going to share a bit of theory, but I'm also going to do some, strategies to help. Primarily, they're going to be cognitive, behavioral. But obviously there's a massive big space for psychotherapy within this because, what can often sit at the back of all this stuff is belief systems, the way we are in the world, which brings around the health issues, but also how are we able to cope with that and the new narrative we need to have, the new identity we need to have, and also the mixed feelings we may have about that stuff. So let's get into the topic itself. You know what? Life throws us all curveballs, and in relationships, in work, in finances, etc., and also within health. And we often take our health for granted, and it's only when it's gone do we then sort of mourn the fact that we didn't do more about it. And I think that actually these health issues can be life-defining. And then be both positive as well as negative. I know we always think it can be the negative, but it can be positive as well. If we look in the theory about it, we look at sort of, what's going on. Particularly, we're talking about some of the bigger health issues going on, not just, a bad knee at the time. It sort of brings us slightly closer to facing our own mortality. And existentialism would really sort of argue that we need to face our mortality better, because only if we can discuss it and make peace with it are we then able to actually focus on that meniscus we have between our passing away and our life. And therefore it's only by focusing upon that this is finite can we then make the most of the time that we actually have and make it useful. And we often talk about, a good death comes from having a good life and making the most of that. I want to talk a little bit about this idea of, breakdown can often lead to a breakthrough. And this idea about it helps to redefine, it helps to bring things into sharp focus. And a friend of mine, she had cancer, very fortunate for her. She managed to get sort of remission from that. But she said it really helped to sort of see life through a different lens. One was, don't sweat the small stuff. Two, she didn't really sort of care what other people thought. And the third thing was, she really sort of, appreciated the smallness of the joys of life and lived very much in the present. So in that sense, for her, it was a really powerful wake-up call. And it does, we talk about this idea about our identity. Who are we? What's our narrative we have? And very often, if we are faced with something that is really going to change us, we need to not only learn to grieve the loss of who we were, but also at the same time have the courage to embrace the new self of who we are, And Kubler-Ross, talks a lot about the grieving cycle, this idea about we're in denial. I've done lots of work, in certain fields of health, and people in massive denial of their hearing loss and things like that, and think it's all okay. So we go in a place of denial, then we can go into a place of anger. Why has this happened to me? We can then go into a place of bargaining of in many ways trying to sort of avoid the reality of the situation, and we may be trying to also make sense of it. And then once we've actually come to some degree of sort of terms with it, we can then go into a place of depression. This is the new me. This is not what I wanted it to be like. And we can be, like you say, we can fall back in some of the other ones. We can go back into anger again. We can go back into a denial. We can live in a place of hope, which very often happens. And then eventually we come to a place of acceptance and a renegotiation and moving on to the next stage. And I think it's all very important that we sort of acknowledge and give ourselves time and patience if we're coming through those stages. Strategies, I'm going to say the flipping obvious, apologies, prevention better than cure. Sort your health out now when you can, do whatever you can. But then I think actually one of the things that we've really got to do is we've got to look at what is the meaning we're putting upon this? How are we shaping our narrative? We often talk about this idea of being in sort of, the victim mode. Oh, life's dreadful. How this has happened to me. The trouble is, if you live in victim, you just disempower yourself because you take away your power of control, and you've got to really get through that victim space and get to a place of, I will do whatever I can with what I can and accept I can't do other things. And therefore there's a very much that when we're working with people is to give them a new shape of purpose, a new shape of meaning in their life. So in terms of how we work in the psychotherapy room, we're obviously working on helping them face up to the new reality. We're helping to sort of hold them during their stage of grief, and giving them the resilience, to actually move on and still make the most of what they are with their obviously reduced health. Anyway, good luck and good health.